Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the Mayor, councillors, council staff and all the members of the public joining us online and in person tonight. We will be live streaming this meeting on Facebook, YouTube and the Banyule Council City website. We kindly ask everyone to please ensure your mobile phones are switched off or muted to avoid any interruptions during the meeting. We will be going live in less than a minute. Thank you.
Not the boys. Former Nillumbik councillor. No.
45 seconds, sorry.
We'll start a little bit early. Okay, go live. She's going to talk. Go.
Welcome all to the 10th of November 2025 council meeting. I open the meeting at 7 p.m. Our meeting is being held on the traditional land of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and on behalf of Banyule City Council, I acknowledge them as the traditional custodians. I would also like to pay my respects to Wurundjeri Woiwurrung elders, past, present and emerging, and to acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders joining us this evening. Our community is made up of diverse cultures, beliefs, abilities, bodies, sexualities, ages and genders. We are committed to access, equity, participation and rights for everyone, principles which empower, foster harmony and increase the well-being of an inclusive community. I will now pass on to the Chief Executive Officer, Ms Alison Beckwith, who will read out the formalities.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome all to this ordinary meeting of Council. As the Mayor indicated, my name is Alison Beckwith and I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at Banyule Council. Tonight's meeting is being held in person in accordance with the provision of Council's governance rules and the Local Government Act 2020. The meeting is also being live streamed via Council's website and Facebook page. Live streams will be available on Council's website and YouTube after tonight's meeting. The live stream is not interactive, so for those of you at home, any comments or private messages directed to us while the meeting is in progress will not be presented to the Council or have any bearing on the conduct of tonight's meeting. Council also has a request to speak process and continues to allow participation of our residents without them having to attend the meetings in person. I'll just take you through some rules of our public participation. Public question time occurs at the end of the meeting. If a member of the public who submitted a question is present at that time, they are welcome to read out their question as submitted or have their question read out on their behalf by a member of staff. If indeed the person that's submitted the question is not present at that time, the question will not be read out. However, all public questions and their answers are included in the meeting minutes, which will be following tonight's meeting. Can I remind you that no statement may be derogatory, defamatory or directed to an individual councillor, member of staff, ratepayer or member of the public. A 2-minute time limit does apply to the request to speak and the timer will be used. A warning will sound at the 1.5 minute mark, and we do ask that you sum up for the last 30 seconds. We ask that all that are present please ensure your mobile phones are either switched off or in a on silent to avoid disruptions. I'd also like to remind everyone that Council has a zero tolerance for any form of bullying, harassment or violence. All present, including community, council staff, councillors, are expected to respect individual views of all others, irrespective of their own view held, and allow all of those to participate respectfully in the council meeting. I also ask if those of you in the chamber actually depart while the meeting's in progress, I do ask kindly that you don't hold conversations in the foyer and wait till you're actually outside. This beautiful building is heritage listed and the noise does reverberate to those listening at home. So I thank you in advance for that. I will now introduce you to the councillors that are in attendance tonight, and I will start to my left. I have Councillor Matt Wood representing Hordern Ward, Councillor Alicia Curry representing Ibbott Ward, Councillor Mary O'Kane representing Olympia Ward, and Councillor Alison Champion representing Sherborne. And to my right, I have the Mayor, Councillor Elizabeth Neely representing Beale, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Peter Castaldo representing Griffin Ward, Councillor Rick Garotti representing Grimshaw, Councillor Alida McKern representing Charlesworth, and Councillor Mark D. Pasquale representing Bakewell. This evening, the council group is also joined with the executive team of council. So to my left, I have Joseph Tobacco, Director of Community Wellbeing, and Natasha Swan, Director of City Development. And over to the right, Mark Giglio, Director of Corporate Services, and Darren Bennett, Director of Assets and City Services. The council team and myself are also joined with the Governance and Integrity team and the IT team that are helping us to conduct tonight's meeting. So thank you for participating, and I'll hand back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alison. I note there are no apologies tonight. Confirmation of the minutes from the ordinary meeting of council on the 13th of October 2025. Can I please have a councillor move? And second, moved Councillor Wood, seconded Councillor Castaldo. I now put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Disclosure of interests for councillors. As required at any other meeting of council, councillors must declare a conflict of interest at the start of the meeting and leave the meeting when the item is presented to council. Councillors will be required to leave the meeting and return when the item has been resolved. At any point throughout the meeting, if other councillor recognises that they have a general or material interest, they can flag that at that point and follow the same procedure. Councillors, are there any disclosures of interest this evening? No. Disclosure of interest for staff. Officers that are present, I now ask whether you have a conflict of interest in any items presented this evening. No?
Yes.
Oh, yes? Sorry.
Thanks,
CEO
Mayor.
has one.
I have a conflict on the confidential item 11.1, outcomes from the CEO Employment Matters Committee meeting held on the 24th of September 2025. So I'll declare a material conflict of interest and I'll make sure that I'm not present during those deliberations. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the meeting. I might also note in the gallery we have a former councillor from Nillumbik Council, Natalie Duffy, here, and I'm thinking maybe you want to move to Banyule and join the council, but nice to see you this evening. We're going to begin with a presentation from Georgie Meyer, the Manager of Inclusive and Creative Communities in the Community Wellbeing Directorate, and you'll be presenting an award for the Economic Development Australia Award for Excellence in Equity, Diversity and Inclusion. So I invite you to say some words.
Got it. Thank you, Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to present this to the Council tonight. This award is a national award that recognises our work in creating jobs for local people, particularly those experiencing barriers to employment. So we have been recognised. We had a target of achieving 1,000 jobs for local people with barriers to employment, and we achieved that target a year early. So we've been recognised for that great work through our own program, the Inclusive Employment Program, but also through our work in supporting local social enterprise. So I'd like to present that to you tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. It's quite a heavy award, isn't it? It's very nice. Okay. Urgent business. I believe there is one item of urgent business. And will that come up on the screen? Okay. Okay. So before council considers this item, we need to resolve that they support the item into the business via resolution. So I'm seeking a motion from a councillor to admit an urgent item of business regarding the planning amendment. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Just requesting that we admit this urgent business in relation to Better Decisions Faster Bill 2025 and Council's advocacy. Thank you.
Seconded, Councillor Champion. Councillor Curry. Oh, okay, I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The item is carried. Okay, Councillor Curry.
Thanks, Mayor. Just waiting for it to come up. So just to notice that because it's an urgent business motion, it isn't in the agenda papers. So unfortunately, we don't have people able to speak to this tonight. So I'm just going to read this out. So the motion that Council recommends a full public inquiry into the planning amendment Better Decisions Made Faster Bill 2025 before Parliament this week. 2, supports the Municipal Association of Victoria, MAV, local government position, Planning Amendment Bill 2025 report in response to this bill, acknowledging that A, a full review of the bill has yet to be made by Council or the MAV, B, that MAV report has highlighted some significant issues for local councils and our communities, C, that there has not been sufficient time for Council to receive and adopt a formal position given the limited time frame of the proposed bill. Item 3, rights to members of the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council to the Honourable Vicky Ward MP, the Honourable Anthony Carbines MP, the Honourable Colin Brooks MP, Mr Sean Lean, Mr Richard Welch, Ms Sonia Terpstra, Mr Nick McGowan and Mr Ave Puglielli, advising Council's position and to request they support the MAV position and a public inquiry. And point 4, that a further report be brought back to a future meeting of Council in respect of the planning amendment, Better Decisions Made Faster, Bill 2025, at the appropriate time. So moved.
Moved, Councillor Curry. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Champion. Councillor Curry, do you wish to speak?
Thank you. So for the public, this was new on the agenda in the last few days. It's just come to our attention that this Better Decisions Made Faster bill is going to come before Parliament this week to be debated, and it causes a whole realm of issues for Council. So the regulatory burden of this bill will remain with Council, and we don't want the bill to pass without proper scrutiny. We'd like our community to be involved with feedback. We'd like our Council to have input, and we'd like to adopt a formal position on the bill. So our current position is to request an inquiry. This has been put to councillors today. MAV had an urgent meeting today, which a number of our councillors attended, which gave us a clear indication that this bill needs further scrutiny. So part of the problem, just for the public to understand, is that it reduces the right to know for public and council. It removes Parliament's ability to hold the government to account. There's a problem with the donation disclosure rules that aren't tied to the local government conflict of interest. And it requires faster decisions that are potentially problematic with the way that they're going to move through council, and council's taking on the responsibility. So we're really concerned with this. It's not good enough to have debate in Parliament. It must have proper scrutiny. It must have this inquiry. So we're hoping that all of our local representatives from the Legislative Council and the Legislative Assembly step up to back this. We're not the only council who's impacted. MAV are requesting us are requesting all councils to make a submission. And we're doing this so that the public's aware that the council is backing your voice in planning decisions. And we want every decision that impacts you to be notified to you, that you're aware of those impacts to your local neighbourhood, and that you get a say in planning decisions. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Curry. Does the seconder wish to speak? No. Councillor McKern.
Thank you, and thank you to Councillor Curry for bringing up this urgent business motion. Today, a number of us councillors did listen in on an MAV presentation which does respond to this proposed amendment. And as Councillor Curry has said, the reason this is coming to council is, whilst indeed officers were ready to write letters to parliamentarians tomorrow, so our officers were onto this, public transparency in terms of council's decision on, well, anything, just about anything we do, particularly when it comes to policy decisions, is vital. So bringing this before the council today ensures that public transparency regarding the position that council has taken is guaranteed. It's an 860-page planning amendment bill, so you can imagine the depth of that bill and the amount of scrutiny required. Given that local government is the responsible authority for implementing Victorian planning controls, it is vital that local government generally has the opportunity for meaningful scrutiny and consultation with state government over these proposed amendments. This ensures practicality and functionality in relation to implementing any changes to controls. So I do applaud Councillor Curry for bringing this up to council, and I will be supporting this motion tonight.
Thank you, Councillor McKern. Councillor Castaldo.
I'll also be supporting this. It's a dangerous time now for planning and long-term outcomes for our community, and that very significant multi-storey buildings could spread further and further into the suburbs. And it's really important that when you do major changes to planning schemes, that it has the public with it and supporting it. There's a range of ways to make housing affordable and available for our residents and future generations, but it's very concerning in the direction we're going at the moment, is my view, and a number of councillors are quite frustrated with the processes being implemented, a sledgehammer approach, really on top of council. We haven't been able to play an active role in one of the most important things that we do, and we are having ever less opportunities to participate in this. And so this is very important that we speak to all the people, the decision makers at the state level, and have the time with the broader community to really consider the outcomes of these proposals. And so I'll definitely be supporting this.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor? Councillor O'Kane.
Thank you, Mayor. I do support this motion and thank Councillor Curry for all her work and rapidly synthesised analysis to get this urgent business motion up. Just a few reasons why I am supporting is it because it removes parliamentary oversight of the minister in the administration of the bill. That's a check that in our democratic process I think is very necessary. There's no provision for affordable housing in it either, and this is really the opportunity to secure more affordable housing, and no mention of social housing. Also, there's a lot of, I think, devil in the detail issues that need to be ironed out or need the opportunity to be ironed out. with the potential for negative impacts on very small councils and very busy councils when the response rate for permit assessments is very tight. I think 5 days in the initial. So they're the primary reasons why I'm supporting this bill. Thank you.
I put the motion to... Oh, you called it a bill. Thank you for correcting that, Councillor O'Kane. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. I note we have 3 petitions this evening. And the first petition, 2.1, Council to reconsider the location of the scheduled pedestrian crossing on Looker Road, Montmorency. There are 2 speakers to this item. Amanda Matanis will address Council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Amanda, are you? Yes, come. Please make your way to the lectern. Thank you, Amanda. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Amanda Matanis. I am a resident of Montmorency. I am speaking on the council meeting agenda item 2.1, petition council to reconsider the location of the scheduled pedestrian crossing Looker Road, Montmorency. I support the matter and the outcome of the petition is seeking. Over 90 local residents signed the petition supporting the rethink of the crossing location on Looker Road between Apex Way and Airlie Road. I do not object to the construction of the pedestrian crossing on Looker Road. My concerns lie with the safety and the location of the crossing. Under the current proposal, the pedestrian crossing will be constructed in front of my home, where I've lived with my husband for more than 15 years. The location is in very close proximity to a busy nexus where vehicle traffic merges from Apex Way, Main Road and Airlie Road. Every day we witness unsafe driver behaviour, drivers speeding, drivers failing to give way at the Apex Way Looker Road intersection, narrowly avoiding collisions, near misses when drivers impatiently charge out of Airlie Road onto Looker Road, drivers who aggressively tailgate, slowing vehicles turning into Airlie Road, and also twitchy drivers who honk at residents slowing to turn into their driveways. We acknowledge the design concept, which includes speed humps, priority changes and signage aims to calm the traffic tempo, as well as temper poor and risky driver behaviour. We remain unconvinced the design is enough to make the proposed crossing location safe. Given our first-hand experience, we'd like to see the crossing located where drivers have a clear vista of the road ahead, not near a confluence of merging traffic and blind corners. Perhaps the crossing could be located near the bus stop where it would serve both pedestrians and commuters. It would give drivers more time to assess the conditions ahead and would lead to sensible decision making. Our viewpoint is not anomalous, It has been reflected in discussions with our neighbours and the local community who signed the petition. We'd like to ask you to please give our concerns thoughtful consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Our next speaker is Al Phillips, who will address Council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you.
Good evening, councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. We support improving pedestrian safety on Looker Road. That's not in dispute. What we and more than 90 local residents oppose is the proposed location directly outside our home at number 8. For context, the original petition requesting a pedestrian crossing on Looker Road received 49 signatures. It didn't specify an exact location, only that it be somewhere between Apex Way and Rattray Road. In contrast, our petition opposing the proposed site gathered 92 signatures in just 10 days after being shared once on the Monty 3094 Facebook group. The message was clear. Residents want a crossing, but not here. Placing it here puts it furthest from where the original petitioners likely intended, away from the cafe, bus stop and main activity. The Victorian planning provisions state that pedestrian crossings should be placed on direct, desirable routes to destinations such as schools, parks, activity centres and public transport stops. Other crossings in Montmorency follow this logic. They're located where people gather. A crossing closer to the cafe and bus stop would align with that intent, improving access where it's actually needed, not outside private homes on a bend. At our end of the street, the road curves sharply. Traffic accelerates after queuing at Grand Boulevard and visibility is limited. We already struggle to reverse safely out of our driveway. Adding a crossing here would introduce flashing lights, braking and noise without necessarily improving safety. Parking is also a concern. Between the cafe, service centre and residents, spaces are already scarce. Losing more will increase frustration and conflict among neighbours. We support the proposed speed humps on Apex Way and the stop sign near number 1 Looker Road. These are sensible, effective measures that will make the street safer, but the crossing's location needs to be reconsidered. We're not asking council to abandon the idea, only to move it to a site that genuinely improves safety, reflects how people use the area and delivers a better long-term outcome for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, before we move to the motion, are there any questions to officers? No? There's an officer report before you. Could I have a mover, please? Moved, Councillor Champion. Seconded, Councillor McKern. Does the mover wish to speak? Does the seconder wish to speak?
I will, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to thank the speakers for your comments tonight. Council does take petitions very seriously and we appreciate the time and effort residents invest in mounting a petition. 91 signatures is really a worthy effort and thank you for that. I have considered the background and discussion sections of the officer report, and what I'm hearing tonight from the speakers is that that's not satisfactory to the residents who spoke tonight. I also appreciate that the motion seeks to refer the matter to the transport team for response. So I trust that an outcome that is suitable for everyone will be resolved. I really just wanted to speak to say that you are being heard. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McKern. Does any other councillor wish to speak? I'll say a few brief words. Generally, I'm supportive of installing pedestrian crossings. We need our streets in Banyule to be safe, and particularly in areas near schools, parks, shops, and improving the walking and accessibility around this area is something I'm very passionate about, and these areas desperately need infrastructure. As we know, the roads are busier and much busier from the time they were originally constructed. So we do have to upgrade and adapt to suit the environment that we're in. Our vote tonight is on receiving the petition. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried.
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes, I ask the gallery to please not interrupt the council meeting.
Point of order, Mayor.
All right, item 2.2, petition to install a complete and securely enclosed fence around McLeod Village Green Playground. There are 3 speakers to this item. The first is Hilary Jane Harrison Smith, who will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you, Hilary.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. Thank you for your time and opportunity to speak. This petition exists because of personal experience. I'm a mother of 2, and out of nowhere, my 2-year-old little boy, Charlie, ran from this interactive running display at McLeod Village Green onto Aberdeen Street Road. He heard a motorbike. I'd never seen him run so fast before in my life. He'd never previously been a runner, apparently never since a runner, but unfortunately on that occasion, the motorbike was too exciting. He came along, there was a car centimetres between the car and my son. It was the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. So as a result of that, I spoke to my parents' friends, and found that they had seen similar incidents, had heard of similar incidents, and were concerned about similar incidents. So this petition seeks a fully enclosed fence around the park, but specifically between two pathways on Aberdeen Road. So ideally we would have the full fence, but we appreciate that the highest point of risk is that section between Aberdeen Road. When I was talking with all 188 signatories to this petition, it was clear that those that had signed had seen or heard of this situation happening multiple times. The particular interactive running display is less than 10 metres away from Aberdeen Road. There is a small sapling and a boulder that may deter a 10-year-old, but not a 2-year-old, and the park is designed for young children. So young children are dangerously exposed during active play. This is really a preventable risk. Building this fence will prevent injury and inevitable tragedy. It's a matter of time before a new risk is a hit. We put it to you that the cost of a fence to save one or more lives is $1 worth spending. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilary. Our next speaker is Eleanor Yeats, who will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here supporting a recommendation to extend the fencing around the playground. I am sharing my lived experience alongside Hilary of the issue of it not being fully enclosed. A few weeks ago, whilst I was visiting the playground with my 2.5-year-old twins, one of them suddenly bolted towards the main road as we were walking to the car. He made it onto the road, similar to Hilary's son, very close to into oncoming traffic. Luckily, the driver of the nearest moving car stopped just in time and the passerby sprinted to help. It could have ended, though, very differently. As a mum of twins, I'm always looking for fenced playgrounds because managing 2 toddlers near a busy road is incredibly challenging. I was already feeling uneasy about this park as I arrived and had mentioned it to another mother about half an hour before my incident happened. This playground is designed for toddlers and young children and the very age group that are least able to understand danger. Without an extension to the fence, the risk of tragedy is real. 2 of us here today have experienced the terror of seeing our toddlers sprint off towards the road. Further to this, the unease has meant no return trips to the businesses on Aberdeen Road for my family and I'm sure for others. An extension to the fence would create a safe boundary, allowing our kids to play freely and us as parents to relax. I really feel that this is a small investment compared to the value of a child's life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Eleanor. Our next speaker is Caitlin Band, who will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you, Caitlin.
Good evening, councillors. I'm speaking tonight as a resident and frequent visitor of the McLeod Playground. I'm here to strongly support the installation of a complete and secure fence around said playground. Every time I visit, without fail, there's at least one child who runs towards either the car park or Aberdeen Road. It's not a matter of if, but when a near miss could become something more serious. The playground's proximity to parking on Aberdeen Road is a particular concern. It only takes a moment of driver error, mistaking the accelerator for the brake, for tragedy to occur. We've seen this happen on the northern end of Aberdeen Road when the car crashed through the op shop window. Installing a secure fence isn't about safety, though it should be reason enough. Isn't just about safety. It would also make the playground more appealing to families who are currently choosing to go elsewhere because it's not fully enclosed. More families using the playground means more people visiting our local shops and cafes. This is a change that benefits both parents and businesses. A fence is a simple, practical solution that will make a real difference, keeping children safe, supporting our community and strengthening our local economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Councillors, are there any questions? No? We have a mover. Moved Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor McKern. Does the mover wish to speak?
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks to Hilary, Eleanor and Caitlin for coming in and speaking with us and putting your case so succinctly. I did meet with Hilary down on site off Aberdeen Road, so we had a look at what the risk area is. So tonight we're receiving...
Point of order, Mayor. Sorry. Please. Can I speak?
No, I might continue. I think it's... Thanks. Just confirming the point of order was not against a councillor. Thank you. Good. Just checking. Just ensuring the public are aware. Thanks. So my mic's on. Thank you. So just a reset. So it's a fantastically well utilised playground down there, and it's an important issue for council to consider. So tonight we're tabling and receiving the petition. Our officers will do some research and have a look at the options there. I agree that the challenge is to keep our youth safe, and they're not always predictable. So the playground is actually designed for young toddlers. Aberdeen Road and the surrounding streets around the railway station is quite well utilised, a lot of cars there. So what we're looking for is a sensible outcome. We need our playgrounds and play areas and our car parks to be safe for children. Just to note that talking about a fence, I know that there's been a morphing of the idea about a completely enclosed fence into a section of the fence that fronts off against Aberdeen Road. We also can have a look at other options in that area, so it might not be necessarily a fence, but it should be something that acts as a prevention tool against that street. So we'll see this come back in the form of a council report to the head petitioner, and we'll deal with it from there. So it might be a few months for us to get moving on this and have a look at the options. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Curry. Does the seconder wish to speak? Councillor McKern.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to tonight's speakers, petitioners and signatories.
Sorry, Councillor McKern. I'll just ask there's respectful behaviour in the gallery, please. And if you cannot stop interrupting, I'll have to ask you to leave. Thank you, Councillor McKern.
Thank you to tonight's speakers, petitioners and signatories to the petition. 176 signatures from within the Banyule area is a significant response. It does highlight community concerns regarding incidents of children running out onto the road and needs to be taken seriously. My children were young once, and through lived experience, I certainly appreciate the concerns that have been raised. I'm familiar with the playground in question and do think this section, indeed, that's been focused on tonight between the two footpaths, is quite close to Aberdeen Road. And I understand that there has been a further letter to the petition highlighting that particular section of the playground. I've not heard or read of any incidents that have occurred in the area throughout the McLeod Village Green playground, but risk management is what I think is being called for here before an incident does occur. Once again, I'd like to thank the petitioner group for bringing it to Council's attention and trust that the officers will address the matter responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McKern. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Wood.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. We're presented with hundreds, if not thousands, of issues here at Council, and all of them are dealt with great deal of care, diligence and respect. And this one is no different. So well done to the petitioners with what you've put forward. I know the area really well. It's a busy place, particularly if you take into consideration nets, the netball courts and so on. So I hope that this petition might just stretch a little bit further and look at the road conditions, speed, parking, different things around the entire park. So there's certainly some issues there.
Okay, I'm just going to stop. Sorry, we'll just pause for a moment until we have quiet in the gallery.
Well done to the petitioners, and I'll just make my point again. We show every issue great respect, every single issue. No one gets ignored. And you're doing yourself no favours by interrupting and showing no respect to other people that are coming here to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to give one more warning to the gallery for just some respect within the meeting. We're transacting the business of council this evening. Okay. We'll just pause for a moment. I'm just going to adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we're resuming the meeting, and I ask that we have a respectful environment for all, please. Thank you. So we were on item 2.2, petition. Does any other councillor wish to speak to the petition? No? I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Moving on to item 2.3, petition, request to reinstate or provide an entrance exit from Colleen Street, Yallambie. There are two speakers on this item. Amy McCullough will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Is Amy here? Yes. Thank you, Amy. You have 2 minutes.
Yep. Good evening, councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Amy McKellar, and I'm here to speak on the petition relating to the reopening of Colleen Street, connecting to Borlays, connecting to Drysdale, connecting to Greensboro Highway. As a resident from the outset, we have communicated via a number of avenues during the EES and initial design process to have the street access remain, along with a number of other concerns. At no time during the project has anyone from the project or the Planning Minister's office communicated that this road would remain permanently closed. This was made evident when canvassing for people to sign the petition, as not one directly affected resident who signed was aware that this would be remaining closed. The closure of the route poses significant risk to residents of K Court, as we are in a designated bushfire-prone area backing onto the Simpson Army Barracks. The previous connection of Colleen Street to Drysdale was likely in place to mitigate this risk. The current road configuration and supposed approved final design contradicts several key planning and safety regulations. I won't list them all as I've only got 2 minutes, but I will touch on the BMO clause 44.06 requiring emergency access and defendable space, as well as Vic Road's own bushfire risk guidelines identifying single access roads as high risk. In addition to fire safety concerns, there are concerns of emergency vehicle access in general, not just for safety, but medical emergencies. The North East Link project's goal of improving community safety is undermined if emergency evacuation and entry routes are compromised. The Planning Minister has ignored us, along with North East Link's design planning team. Their own design landscape report has identified that they would like to keep, the final design was to keep an active transport network that maintains community connection, create connected, accessible, inclusive and safe transport options, and ensure people and communities are better connected. Our petition is an example of these key points not being met. This again shows there was never any review or consideration of the local community's response, despite claiming they have been consulting with the community. We respectfully request that the council assist residents in having this accessible road reinstated as part of the project before it is finalised. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Narelle Lawton, who will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you, Narelle.
Thank you. Hello, councils, and thank you for your time tonight. I want to stress that I'm actually here out of sheer desperation. We, the residents of our estate, have followed procedure. We have given evidence to the UDLP about access. It's been an ongoing concern of ours from the inception of this project when option A was announced, and we were reassured time and time again that we would have 2 entry access points. It was then the UDLP, we gave feedback, we explained, as Amy had mentioned, our concerns about access for emergency vehicles, not only for bushfire, but also emergency vehicles getting in. There was a truck rollover on Rosanna Road. That was a clear example of an emergency vehicle not being able to access our estate because Lower Plenty Road was completely cut off. That leaves us as residents very vulnerable. The traffic in the morning, where North East Link say they've done traffic management to get out onto Cruise Street, while they do traffic management, it's actually not during peak times. We are making blind turns and there is traffic backed up Lower Plenty Road, which is actually going to be an access road for the residents of Eltham to come down and enter onto the North East Link. There is no proposed plans to actually upgrade our intersection in that area. So we're very concerned with only that one entry exit. It's actually going to get worse. The traffic management shows that it's going to get worse because more cars and trucks will be coming down there to actually enter the freeway. We also have it gazetted in the Victorian Gazette that the road would reopen on the 31st of December 2028. and I have copies of that to show you. This road was only proposed to be closed for a period of the project, which we understood the need for it. However, we're requesting that council support us in getting that road reopened, because in long term, it's actually going to sit with the council to have to rectify these issues should there be an emergency. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Narelle. Councillors, are there any questions to officers? Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. To the relevant officer, I've got a couple of questions. So during the urban design landscape consultation process, Council put a couple of requests into NALP. I just want to dive into just a little bit of information on that. So the first one was to conduct detailed consultation with residents and undertake traffic studies and risk assessments before finalising decisions. And the second part of the request was to provide more detail on how traffic impacts would be assessed and managed, and clarification on the operation of the Crew Street Lower Plenty Road intersection after truncation of Borlase and Colleen Streets. Curious to know what response we had from NALP. Where did that land? Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. So my understanding is that in addition to our submissions through the UDLP process, that the matter was also raised by residents through that process as well. To date, the only reference we can find to consideration is part of the community consultation report dated February 2023, which has a statement that says we looked at whether it was possible to keep Colleen Street connection to Drysdale Street, but it's not possible to keep this connection and have space for Banyule Creek, surrounding wetlands and parklands. Other than that, we haven't had any confirmation back from the authority or through the other processes about any consideration of closure of that street or any subsequent impacts onto other intersections.
Thank you, Director Swan. Do you have another question, Councillor Wood?
Yeah, just a couple. So just to clarify, we didn't get a response.
Through you, Mayor, I guess effectively the community consultation report is the response around all of the consultation which we participated in.
Yep.
So as to the point of does council receive a direct mail response, my understanding is that wouldn't have been likely as we were a submitter in a larger process rather than it being a direct correspondence between council and the authority asking that question. Yeah.
Okay. A follow-up question. In the papers, we talk about work study that's been done at the intersection of bear with me, Lower Plenty Road and Crew Street. I've got that right. Is it Crew Street that intersects? Yeah. So what have we got in terms of a study on what it is before Borlase was closed, what it is now during construction, and what it is likely to be post-tunnel opening, and what the impacts are? And then, sorry, it's a long question, what are we proposing needs to change at that intersection?
Through you, Mayor. So at the moment, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have a study per se on the current traffic impacts, although as the residents raised tonight, it's not exactly operating in a BAU sort of business as usual capacity. So traffic is constrained through there already as a consequence of the construction. So it's difficult to know whether that signalised intersection will cope post-construction. There are general obligations on monitoring around the impacts of nearby roads and intersections after the work, but as to the specifics for this intersection, there's no specific detail for that, more of a general obligation around.
Okay, Councillor Wood, further questions? Any other councillors have any questions? Councillors, there's a motion before you. Do I have a mover? Councillor Wood, there's an addition. Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to move this item 2.3. So I have made an amendment to this. Points 1 and 2 as per the papers. Item 3 is to receive a report at a future council meeting responding to the petition. And then item 4 as is. Thank you, Mayor.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded. Councillor Di Pasquale. Councillor Wood, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So to explain the amendment, we've heard from the speakers tonight, and thank you, Narelle and Amy, for the work you've done here and putting your points across so succinctly. It's important councillors, that we understand what's happening around North East Link. This is the biggest project happening in the country at the moment, and it's on our doorstep and quite literally in the yards of some of our residents, as we're hearing tonight. And so what I've asked there in point 3 is that the petition is obviously received and the officer's response to it comes back to this chamber, and we have an opportunity to discuss it and understand it. And with that, I'll be looking for some additional points. Based on the answers we've just heard, there's some work needed to be done in the study of what's going to be happening around this estate, particularly with the intersection up the road. And I'd like to think that we're making it clear to our state members what's happening. It's imperative that they know what's happening. We're looking forward to the tunnel and the benefits it'll bring, but we need to understand that there is a big challenge for our local residents that are living on the front line of this, and we've heard that tonight. So just to reiterate just a couple of key points, this was gazetted to be a construction process. This road was to be closed and reopened in 2028. And through this process now that it has been decided, with little consultation from what I can read between the lines, that we will just simply cancel the road. Now that estate either needs a road or it doesn't. You can't just cancel a road and just walk away. It's just not, it's not good enough. And so bringing this petition and this study through will make sure that it, as our speaker said, this doesn't become a council problem down the road, that the state clean this up. And there's other issues like this one. So very grateful for the petitioners. Thank you, Narelle and Amy, and happy to support this.
Thank you. Does the seconder wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to add, I think points that have already been made, but thank you, well managed, Councillor Wood, and also thank you to our speakers to bring together the petition. This is an appropriate use of a petition tonight. These are the ways that we bring attention to this council, and then we'll come back with a report, and thank you very much for the amendment. One of the things that is going to be significant, and it has been pointed out tonight by our speaker, is the traffic that will be coming along Lower Plenty Road trying to get into the interchange there. So I remember many years ago when the North East Link was first earmarked and they were getting ready for it, we were guaranteed that all road networks would be, the way that they were, would be existing in the end of the project or at the end of the project. So all access, all roads, all, however we worked as a local community would be, and this is not what we're seeing here with regards to the, closure of this road. So it does need work. And we do need to look at a way through. I don't think the solution of just closing is going to be appropriate because the increased traffic on Lower Plenty Road, I think Crew Street is going to be overwhelmed with regards to the amount of traffic. And getting out there is just is going to be a future issue. This is not the only area where we're having major concern, and we do need, as Councillor Wood did mention, we do need our state members to be looking into this, and they do need to be accountable for this project too. There are many areas along the way which are being, I was speaking to a few residents just on Old Greensborough Road coming onto Grimshaw Street. They're in a similar situation, not as dramatic as this, but very similar. But these residents need to be heard, and this is the way I'm very happy to receive this petition tonight. We do need to advocate this pretty hard, I think, because up until now it's just been the state government telling us and NALP telling us how the project is going to run and be happy with it. And there's going to be certain issues in certain areas, so we just need to cherry pick those and make sure we're advocating as much as possible for our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Curry.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for the amendment to Councillor Wood. It's important because Council's limited in its actions, particularly in response to the petition at this current stage. So we need the report back to take certain actions. It's a state infrastructure project, one of the biggest. We're also aware that a couple of our roads, so Lower Plenty Road and Banksy Street, were actually shown to be increasing in traffic at the end of the project, so we're aware of that. There's a number of pieces of advocacy that Council takes around the North East Link. My ward is severely impacted by the same issues as Councillor Wood's ward, but not into this specific idea, so we haven't had this come to Council, so this is potentially unique. So I'm keen that the project delivers safe, predictable outcomes, so we don't want an unintentional outcome. So I look forward to the report coming back to council because we can discuss what actions are necessary, and we also need to focus council's effort to best effect, and we might draw on those officer recommendations to get this highlighted at the state level. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.1, Cemeteries Trust Financial Statement. There are no speakers on this item. Are there any questions to officers? No. There's a motion before us. Could I have a mover, please? Moved, Councillor O'Kane. Seconded, Councillor Champion. Does the mover wish to speak? Does the seconder wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Grotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just make a note that the trust is performing below its expectation year to date as of September. That's just to a delay, a timing delay, and the officers advised their confidence in the full year break-even operating result for the trust being achieved. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Grotti. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.2, Cemeteries Trust Operations Report. There are no speakers on this item. Do I have a mover? Moved, Councillor Champion. Seconded, Councillor O'Kane. Does anyone wish to speak? No, councillor? I might say a few words then. It's good to note that a panel contract performance review was undertaken and that the quality of service was excellent. Councillors, we always love to read that the quality of service is excellent, and this contract is in relation to grave digging and caretaking services, and as a result that contract's been extended for a year. So good to see also that a vault will be ready for sale, and pretty confident it will be sold immediately. And I was going to add my little joke, but I won't tonight. Okay. I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.3, Audit and Risk Committee minutes from the 19th of September. We have one speaker on this item. Kevin Hill from the Banyule Ratepayers Action Group will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you, Kevin.
Good evening all. Thank you very much for the opportunity. These Audit and Risk Committee reports and minutes just keep getting better and better. I go back 4 or 5 years and they were basically kindergarten stuff, and with a lot of work by a number of councillors and the senior staff, they are really now quite excellent. So congratulations. Just a couple of quick things. I noticed that there is still some concern about the VAGO ratio, and there's a lot of red and some orange in that report. I know you're all working on it, but you're talking about recovering the situation of the underlying deficit by decreasing expenses and increasing revenue, but there's no detail or assumptions given to that detail as to how that's going to be achieved, and it would be excellent to have that reduced, and Bragg would request that information at some time in due course. The other matter I want to raise, which is silent completely in this report, is whether there will be any impact from the Victorian Treaty, which is now going through the Victorian Parliament. Has any discussion taken place internally at Council as to any impact, financial impact that the treaty will have, and how will we deal with it, both from a Council point of view and from a ratepayer point of view? It's quite concerning. I saw a news item, I don't know whether it's fake news or real news, but it said that the Warren Didgery mob have actually commenced an application for a land right, and I've seen some detail as to what that may involve, but I just wonder whether this ought to become a matter for the Audit and Risk Committee to start thinking about and report back to the ratepayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Before we move, Are there any questions? No? There's an officer report before you set out in the agenda papers. I'm calling for a mover. Moved, Councillor Wood. Seconded, Councillor O'Kane. Does the mover wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I will say a few things. Thanks for the points raised, Kevin. I'll take them on notice. So I'm happy to table the unconfirmed ARC minutes from the last meeting as true and correct. So a few notes, and following on from our speaker's compliment, it's not lost. The committee reviewed key governance, risk and assurance activities across council, and noting strong progress and increasing maturity in internal controls. The external member, the chairperson, conveyed appreciation to council officers for the detail and professional reports within the agenda provided to the committee. So credit certainly goes to our officers. Thank you. The annual report was reviewed by ARC. The financial report and performance statement were endorsed in principle, and they were submitted to VAGO for review. The capital project management internal audit review was assessed, and Council's internal audit of capital project management conducted by our internal auditor, that's ASTA, found the process to be at an established maturity level, so that's an improvement, with key governance elements in place. The 6 improvement recommendations focus on consistency, post-project reviews and better use of established tools. And the Watsonia Town Square project was especially highlighted for strong governance and budget management. The committee discussed improving oversight through the recently appointed Enterprise Project Management Officer, a new role within Council. And this is another mature advancement in our project management. The committee also raised the need to consider environmental risks more deeply in project management in future review. They certainly have my endorsement there. So another area of the ARC work was to strengthen the enterprise risk management. And so there was a heavy focus on 2 parent risks, one of them being parent risk 4, it's fraud and corruption, and the other being heavy vehicle safety, PR11. It's worth noting, since the ARC meeting, I know of 5 pedestrian fatalities in Melbourne as a result of a truck incident since the ARC meeting. So we don't simply have fender benders with trucks. When it goes wrong, it goes catastrophically wrong. So it was prudent to drill into this. Vast improvements made in PR11 include new compliance roles and better oversight of Council's fleet, though there were some gaps identified. Visibility over our contractor practices remains limited, and the committee raised concerns about subcontractor compliance. And we've asked for a paper outlining Council's responsibility and approach, and that's coming back to ARC in March 26, so looking forward to that. So I've since taken this offline from a council point of view with Director Bennett, and we've had a very frank and strong conversation about this, and I'm very pleased with the way Director Bennett has taken this, and so that report back in March will have a lot of this work undertaken. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does the seconder wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to follow on with a couple of comments from Councillor Wood, just highlighting a couple of reports and a summary overview of my experience at the ARC meeting. So the Parent Risk 4, fraud and corruption, has resumed engagement with the engagement of Banyul's new CFO and is now progressing well. The Safety and Wellbeing Metrics report informed that there's been 248 safety-related incidents, most of them, as they have been in the past, in the higher risk directorate areas of assets and city services and community wellbeing. Though it was commented that the slightly increased incident reporting is attributed to awareness raising following targeted training and new initiatives, which I thought was very encouraging. Interestingly, the figures for near misses remain stagnant, but officers say continued training will increase this figure and should contribute to a decrease in actual incidences. Also, on a positive note, work cover continues to perform well with continued improvements and benefits for staff and council. And also psychosocial safety is a priority with council and was discussed throughout and accounted in this particular report for 33% of incidences, and that council is prepared for Victoria's Occupational Health and Safety Psychosocial Regulations 25, which come into effect on December 1st. So as a new councillor, I'm developing a picture that Banyule Council has a rigorous and adaptive audit and risk review system in place that is taken very seriously and orientated towards continuous improvement. Though early days for me, there has been no serious failing or near-miss report, just continuous suggestion of reinforcement of solid to mature risk management strategies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Kane. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Grotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just highlight the very positive insurance review that was outlined in the minutes, and I've requested that a briefing on that come to council. It was an area of focus for us to look at our insurance costs and to see that we've been able to achieve savings in a context of increases and quite high increases is pleasing. So I would certainly just like to receive a briefing on that for my own interest and benefit, and no doubt for the rest of the council. I suppose the other comment I'll make is, a speaker from Bragg raised a few queries, and I would certainly be grateful if our CEO could come back with advice whenever there is a major legislative or regulatory development, as there has been recently in the state regarding treaty. I think it is important that we be briefed on that, what the risks are, of course, but also the opportunities. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? I'll say a few words. At the meeting, we thanked the outgoing member, Greg Rimmer-Hollyman, for the 5 years of his contributions on the committee. And some other important things to highlight, as Councillor Wood just mentioned, that we're putting an increasing focus on fraud prevention and heavy vehicle safety, and, we can always look for improvements in these areas. The finance changes, we spent a lot of time discussing how they related to classification matters, and that this is a sector-wide issue. And always looking at improvement and as well as the data that we're looking at. For example, we looked at staff turnover and, looking at improving the data set that we've got to have just including permanent staff turnover, not including the temporary staff figures as well. So always refining and improving. And lastly, I just wanted to mention Councillor Wood, O'Kane and I, we sought assurance from the independent members of the committee that no other further material issues would arise from the VAGO review. And I'll leave it there. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.4, Quarterly Finance Report, September 2025. There is one speaker on this item. Kevin Hill from the Banyule Ratepayers Action Group will address council in person, and he's speaking against the recommendation. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, that's not really fair. I think it's not a bad report actually, but they're just a few niggles. But the key question I've got is the underlying deficits. Now, we've had these for quite a while. I won't go into the history of it, but what we're failing to understand is exactly what action and what assumptions have been made to reduce expenses and increase revenue, which seems to be the magic solution to get out of it. I would do the same thing, but we'd like some detail. We did have a discussion about forecasting and the paucity of that previously. I'm sure it's improved under the leadership of the CEO, but I would like to receive in writing from Bragg, some explanation as to what revenue increases you forecast and how you're going to achieve them, and the same with reductions in expenses. In relation to my previous comment on the Audit and Risk Committee, you know, I have these nightmares, but I foresee that a treaty levy will be imposed on all ratepayers through the machinations of the state government. And that will be a levy that the council will be asked to impose on its ratepayers. And I wonder whether any thought and any provisioning discussions have taken place to date on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. There's an officer report before you. Are there any questions? Do I have a mover? Moved, Councillor Garotti. Seconded, Councillor Wood. Councillor Garotti, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Happy to move this report, which is essentially for noting the September year-to-date financial performance and position of the council. It's pleasing to see within the report one of the recommendations that we made arising from the review of the procurement policy, and to now see that any exemptions for tenders that are exercised by the CEO are transparently reported not only to the council but to the community in the next available quarterly report. So I think that's a really strong transparency and accountability mechanism, and I thank the officers for that. I have made the suggestion that I think for future reporting it'd be valuable to see the dollar value of those activities to put it in context, but for now it's just good to know that we're incorporating it in our reporting. Look, I, on face value, the decline in our forecast position to budget, which is about a $2 million change, so from almost a break-even underlying budget for the year to a 2.3 million, on face value that could be a bit of a concern. But when you look through the numbers and you see that the explanations that have been provided, I suppose the news isn't as concerning. I'm quite pleased with a number of the decisions that this council has taken over the course of this year, calendar year that is, and I won't go into the detail on them. We got a good outcome not only for the organisation but our staff as well through the enterprise bargaining agreement. So I think the big picture things that drive our costs, we've been doing a good job on. So I'm reasonably confident with where we're at. But I certainly do take on board the point raised by our speaker from Bragg around receiving some further advice and commentary on those revenue increase strategies and expenditure reduction. It is, to be fair, that is missing from this report. And so I don't think there's a need per se for the council to be responding individually to one group on this. But what I would like to see, and taking up the charge, is that if we could look to include a little bit of that commentary in our future reporting, and that'll benefit both the council and our community and our stakeholder groups. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.5, record of councillor meetings. There is one speaker on this item. David Mulholland will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm speaking in support of item 3.5, record of councillor meetings, and particularly the briefing of Monday the 20th of October where waste to energy was presented by Cleanaway. I add that I have no conflict of interest, but as a retired waste management consultant, I can speak with some experience on this topic and without any ideological bias. Each year, Banyule sends tens of thousands of tonnes of household waste to landfill. That costs ratepayers millions of dollars, produces methane far more harmful than carbon dioxide and consumes valuable land that future generations will need. Waste to energy offers a smarter alternative. It converts residual household waste, what can't be recycled, into clean, reliable electricity and heat. Every tonne processed this way avoids a tonne of greenhouse gases and reduces landfill volumes by up to 90%, extending the life of existing sites. Importantly, waste to energy complements recycling. It doesn't replace it. We would still recycle everything possible, but instead of paying to bury what remains, we can generate energy to power homes, community facilities, and even council vehicles. Councils across Victoria are already partnering on these projects, sharing infrastructure and costs. Banyule can join that forward-thinking group and lead in practical, sustainable waste management. Let's turn a costly problem into a renewable opportunity and move beyond the 70% landfill diversion that we currently have and move towards zero waste. I look forward to the report coming to Council. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions to officers, councillors? No? Do I have a mover for the report? Moved, Councillor Champion. Seconded, Councillor O'Kane. Does the mover or seconder wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 4.1, adoption of the Yarra Plenty Regional Library Meeting Local Law and Supplemental Agreement. There are no speakers on this item. Are there any questions to officers? No? Moved, Councillor Garotti. Seconded, Councillor Champion. Does the mover wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, look, happy to be moving this recommendation for the council. The documents, both the meeting local procedure as well as the supplemental agreement, essentially roll over the current arrangements with the library board that are serving us well, albeit, you know, we've tightened certain things up as a board. I think it's worth highlighting, and more just for informational purposes, just the cost recovery arrangements that apply. And essentially costs and operating costs are a portion based on the usage of residents within the network of the different libraries. And it's a really successful model. And so, for example, Banyule has 3 libraries out of 10 within the network. There are 2 though in Nillumbik, Diamond Valley, Greensborough and Altham, that are very heavily utilised by Banyule residents and very embraced and appreciated. And we contribute effectively as a council to those costs. So it's a really efficient arrangement, and we've strengthened that in this documentation. One thing that I think is worth highlighting and that people may not be aware is that the library board meetings are actually available to the public, much like a council meeting. We don't really tend to see too many people from the public attend, but I think it's worth highlighting because libraries are probably up there as one of our biggest services, along with, you know, the waste collection, for example, and planning. And I think it's worth, you know, from a community perspective, because we do have that arrangement with the library board and we don't tend to see many items relating to the library come to council. I think there can be this perception, well, how do we engage? How do we maintain transparency and accountability around how the libraries are operating? Well, as residents, you actually have the ability to attend those meetings if you wish. So I just note that for information, but otherwise very happy to be moving this tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll ask the gallery to please be respectful. Does the seconder wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? No? Okay. Well, we're required to endorse the supplemental agreement, as Councillor Grotti mentioned, along with the new meeting procedure local law of 2025. It's good practice that the library agreement is reviewed every 5 years and that regional library services provide a cost-effective model to deliver services for councils across this state. YPRL continues to perform in the top 10 of the state's library services for the efficiency measures, and I wanted to shout that out too, because of all the amazing work that they do for the community. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Moving to item 6.1, Housing and Neighbourhood Character Strategy Implementation. There are 2 speakers on this item. Jane Crone will address Council and is speaking for the recommendation.
Thank you. Now, I want to commend Councillor Curry's eloquent report, and she's done it much better than I'm going to try and do now. Thank goodness that came to special business. But I do commend Banyule Council for attempting to improve the present lack of suitable, affordable and social housing, as instructed to do so by the state government. I am, however, very concerned that very little can be achieved due to the present chaotic situation caused mainly by the state government. Council is under a great deal of unfair pressure, and this is words in the council agenda tonight, due to uncertainty of further state government planning policy changes. The planning scheme amendment has been split into 2 parts. Now, this has caused the council financial implications due to a necessary increase in the existing budget, due to increased production costs. Now, I'm not good at maths, but I think it's gone from 100,000 to 170,000 now that it's going to be done in 2 parts. The council is still awaiting more information from the government itself. State government changes to planning policy means that local government can no longer vary zones in the same way. Mainly, number 1, council must approve up to 3 stories if deemed to comply. 2, there's going to be no opportunity now for residents to appeal at all. 3, council will no longer be able to translate the neighbourhood character strategy into zone schedules. And 4, a similar deemed to comply system is also being considered for 4 to 6-storey apartment buildings. Now, council states that it wants to achieve stronger neighbourhood character controls, greater urban canopy controls, to enhance and retain significant vegetation, good design, with more social and affordable housing. But all of this is almost impossible with the rules and restrictions now imposed on us all. Refer to the aged tree canopy, street canopy target unrealistic. That was in it today. And I just want to finish off slightly tongue-in-cheek with the Eaglemont Silvertails that are soon to be gentrified, with 3 to 4-storey buildings looming over them, I'm sure will not be supplying any social or affordable housing, just huge profits for developers whilst destroying tree canopy and neighbourhood character. I commend the council for what they're trying, but you're in an uphill battle against this state government policies at the moment.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, our next speaker is Pippa Griffith, who is addressing council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you, Pippa.
Thank you. I'm in favour of this amendment as I'm hoping it can help us get better results, even though the recent changes mean that council has less say in many planning decisions. The emphasis on good design, infrastructure and canopy cover are all important. But I do have a number of questions. In terms of benefit to the environment, the officer's report states the neighbourhood character strategy identifies areas which have significant vegetation which should be retained or enhanced on new development sites. Given the government's changed rules, how and where can this actually happen? The same section of that report says the housing strategy works towards council's 30% canopy cover target by identifying ways which new residential development can help increase canopy. Over the weekend, Boroondara said they can't achieve 30% cover because the new planning rules mean canopy loss on private land is more likely. Their canopy has declined from 25.7% in 22 to 24% now due to losses from private land and infrastructure works, including North East Link. We've also lost significant canopy due to NELP. Has Banyule measured how much our canopy has declined since that work started? Even with 2-for-1 replacement, it will be years before those trees give any kind of equivalent canopy. Can we realistically get to 30% with the new rules and more development when Boroondara can't? Why does the new clause about key worker housing not mention the Heidelberg Medical Precinct? And what can council actually do to ensure housing for key workers specifically? And there are a number of outdated council documents mentioned in Attachment 1. It would be much simpler if the planning scheme automatically used the most up-to-date version of these documents. Can something be added to that effect? Then a planning scheme amendment would not be needed to update the documents. And finally, could the Minister refuse authorisation at this point? And if so, what happens then? Thank you.
Thank you, Pippa. Questions? Councillor Curry.
Thanks to the Speaker. I'll try and cover some of those questions, and I might need some assistance for those who are taking notes. So through you, Mayor, to the relevant director, which I suspect is our Director of City Development. So the areas of vegetation that we are looking to retain or enhance, what is our current view, what is the council officer view on whether that's currently achievable or potentially achievable with new reforms?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. So we would probably tend to agree with the Boroondara assumption. So some of the early work we've done around tree canopy and what's possible with the new low-rise code assess would suggest that 20% is at the upper edge of what you can achieve through the code. I would note, though, that's in instances of properties that don't have another form of overlay control, like an environmental or vegetation overlay. So there still remains an opportunity for council in those areas to look at strengthening those overlays as they apply a second form of control over the site that's separate from the standard code. And that's certainly part of the stage 2 work that we're considering. So in some areas we might actually be able to improve that and potentially achieve the 30% canopy, but we won't if we rely just on the state code in relation to planting on sites.
And follow-up question, so do we have an idea of what the decline in canopy from the North East Link, and I would suggest that this include other works from the level crossing removal, do we have an idea of the last 5 or 6 years of what the decline has been in Banyule?
I'm not sure that I can answer that fully insofar as we do have some recent vegetation mapping. The North East Link itself is measuring its canopy loss as part of the project. Then there's the replacement planting that is occurring across the municipality. The challenge there being, as the community's raised, that it takes time for that canopy to establish. So there is a short-term immediate loss. In theory, there's a long-term status quo. I guess there's some benefit to us in the cooperative program we have with the North East Link project in that we're planting a number of trees on their behalf on council land that we will own and maintain, and therefore we have more control and oversight over their long-term protection and retention. So that, I guess, is helpful for us as a council compared perhaps to some of our neighbours who are reliant on that planting in the road corridor and therefore the ongoing maintenance by the Department of Transport after the project's finished.
And I'll try and continue with a couple of the questions. So in relation to key worker housing, does council have the ability to directly influence key houser working, and to what capacity?
So if it's in regard to around the hospital precinct and in the Northern Innovation Sustainable precinct itself, we've already got that, or we're getting that through the activity centre structure planning that we're doing. So whilst it doesn't form part of this amendment, we're amending this document as it currently is. Then when the subsequent amendment comes in, it's like a layer upon layer effect. So that will come as part of that work. We have some sort of high-level commentary about that, but it is the structured planning that you do at the detailed activity centre level that really directs that increased growth of that key worker housing into our activity centres. So as each structure plan is done for the activity centres, that then directs that work through that process.
One final question through you, Mayor. So the dates, the Speaker Pippa was mentioning that we're doing a review of the documents and updating these documents in line with the date that they have been adopted. And so we're updating documents that are from 2011 that may have been renewed in 2024. Is it possible to have those documents reflected in the planning scheme without the dates so that the current version is always the one that we refer to without running a planning scheme to put that through?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. The short answer for that is no. It's a requirement in the drafting of planning schemes that a specific document is incorporated into the planning scheme, that its validity or its capacity to deliver is assessed at the time that it's going in. And it can't just simply be switched out by another document without that same rigour of a planning scheme amendment reviewed by the state, by the community and so on and so forth.
Okay. No more questions? Right? Okay, so looking for a mover. There's a little additional word there. Moved. Well, Councillor McKern, are you happy for that extra word to move this? Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Curry. Councillor McKern.
Thank you, Mayor. This is indeed an important planning report, and thank you to the speakers for your noteworthy comments and questions. It does address a planning scheme amendment to, one, embed the findings of the Banyule housing and neighbourhood character strategies in our local planning policies as part of the Banyule planning scheme, and two, include the stated strategies as well as our urban forest strategy and Banyule built form design guide as background comment documents in the Banyule planning scheme. Given ongoing state government housing planning reforms overriding local government planning controls, one might be forgiven for asking the question, why should council amend its planning scheme to include a new housing strategy if state government is designing and implementing its own housing policy? Yes, state government is reforming planning in an attempt to meet its housing targets of 2.25 million new homes in Victoria by 2051. And every one of the 79 Victorian councils has a target to meet. We know that the set target for Banyule is 45,500 new houses. We also know that our new Banyule housing strategy framework plan has capacity for about 53,000 homes, well in excess of the state target. So while state is indeed calling in controls and streamlining our decision-making powers, it's not all doom and gloom. There is still much that council can achieve and will control. By way of example, planning areas of heritage, environment and planning applications not deemed to comply with state government codes. So while not formally part of the planning scheme, these documents will be incorporated as background documents should this amendment proceed. Why are background documents important in a planning scheme? Because they provide policy context and reasoning for decisions, and therefore they help planning decision makers make more informed planning decisions, particularly when it comes to local policy and what's important in a municipality. As for the Banyule Design Guide, it was indeed drafted in 2024, and its aim is to support the housing strategy and neighbourhood character objectives. Not uncommon for councils to have design guidelines to help developers and designers build higher quality developments. The Banyule Design Guide was drafted as an internal-facing document, so councils are yet to cite it. It was advocated for for a number of years by Councillor Castaldo and myself, and we're delighted that it's actually coming to the fore. We look forward to workshopping it as a council and also look forward to it going out to public consultation. It promises to be an important document to help developers uplift development, particularly in light of some of these planning reforms. It's an avenue where we can try and influence better design and planning outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McKern. Councillor Curry.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks to Councillor McKern for the commentary. I totally agree. Thanks to the work done by prior councils. I'm a new councillor, so the work is continuing. I think this is an important step. This has now been broken down into 2 steps so that we get the preliminary work done. It's important so that we add these documents that were adopted by this council and previous councils into the planning scheme. The good design standards will come back to council and are open for review from the public and our sustainability group. But what this does give us is we can no longer vary our zone set schedules, which is adding a lot, which has added some of our protections to our neighbourhood character and our vegetation. So one of the aims is to retain and enhance our canopy, retain and enhance our vegetation. We need to be looking broadly across Banyule at what that looks like per area, per zone. We've got a lot of various areas. Some have reached the canopy target, mostly they have not. So council will review this in time with further advocacy. We have a lot of advocacy on the table. We have 7 motions to MAV that address this. We also want to point out that good design is subjective to Banyule, because once we adapt these good design into our local neighbourhoods and our topography, that we have to be aware that a good design in a deemed to comply standard may still not result in a good design for Banyule. So I'm really aware of this, but this step I'm supportive of, so we get these documents in the planning scheme. It does provide protection in some areas, it just doesn't do the full job. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Curry. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Castaldo.
Yeah, I'd just like to acknowledge the speakers. They're committed in this area, and so have been officers for, I think, around about 5 years now. This process has stopped and started because the government, the state government, have continued to change the scheme and the rules in which we're trying to produce the best possible neighbourhood character and housing strategy for our community. So it's been very, very difficult. Tonight, what's coming before us is not what I was hoping to see a number of years back as a consequence of the work of everyone collectively on this. But this is a really watered down outcome. I don't see how we can demonstrate to our community that we've achieved something of significance, given the significant work that's been into this. The next stage, I think, is we've got some opportunities, but basically we've got such little control over some of these incredibly important areas that all we can do is have a guideline that we ask developers to consider. And that's what we're trying to push for. When all of the controls are being taken away from us to another level of government. So it's very difficult for me to get enthusiastic about this. But I do like to acknowledge the significant work of the officers that have attempted to do everything they can to try and consider what's important for our community.
Thank you. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.1, consideration of submission Bell Street Mall, Shopping Centre, special rate renewal. There were no speakers on this item. Are there any questions to officers? No? Do I have a mover? Moved, Councillor O'Kane. Seconded, Councillor Garotti. Do you wish to speak, Councillor?
Thank you, Mayor. The commercial centre for Olympia is a key social and community infrastructure site. and as such I have a very keen and sustained interest in its condition. This year has been one of ups and downs. There have been some significant achievements, particularly in standards of governance, cleanliness and amenity. Other significant challenges have improved somewhat, but there's still a lot of work to be done on many fronts. A 2025 highlight was the election in February of a reinvigorated Traders Association, with new members joining experienced existing members. Working together with Banyul's Economic Development Team, the committee met new governance standards leading to the resumption of the special rates and charges scheme, which had been suspended for 2 years. So major congratulations there. I thank all the committee members, in particular the former and acting presidents, Rabi Sharif and Faisal Atosh, the secretary Kate Farrelly and the centre manager Marketer, and Banyul's Economic Development Team, with special mention to Georgie Meyer, who is here today, and Paul Tia, for all they have achieved. The next AGM is in 2 days' time to elect the 2026 committee, which I believe will continue its upward trajectory. The Mal is about to face its next big challenge with the closure of the post office on Friday. The stress this will place on existing businesses and the community members that rely on it will be very significant. It will place the Mal in a deeper state of challenge and demand concerted effort to transform. This renewed SES, Special Charges, Rates and Charges scheme, will be absolutely essential for the Traders Association to play its strategic leadership role in meeting these challenges and community expectations of what kind of space the Mal could be, and to attract more locals back there regularly. I look forward to what the TA, the Traders Association, can achieve in 2026.
Thank you, Councillor O'Kane. Does the seconder wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a brief note to call out Abdi Mohammed here this evening, who I believe serves on the Bell Street Mall Traders. And we certainly appreciate your attendance this evening and any work that you can do to get out to the community there of traders to participate in this consultation process. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Garotti. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Wood?
Just a quick note, Mayor, thank you. I visited the mall, Mal, 2 weeks ago. I had great service from the ladies at McLaughlin Shoes. Alicia will verify my new shoes and my shirt here from Chris at Mensland. So shout out. These stores have been there. The shoe store has been there for 50 years. Yeah, okay. The current owner's 50 years. I think it goes 54 years, they were telling me. All right, we'll round it off to the closest 10. But Chris has been there 28 years. How about that one? Yeah. So these are institutional retail stores in our city and should be celebrated. So there's a lot to celebrate down at Bell Street. Plenty of work to do though. There's no doubt about it. So I'm happy to see the officers charging ahead in this retail sector with these 11 centres, and also it's worth noting we're looking at the 29 smaller shopping strips in our city that don't have a traders scheme at the moment. So doing some work there. So it's an exciting space for us. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Does any other councillor wish to speak? I'll just be brief. We aim to encourage business activity in the Bell Street Mall Shopping Centre, and this scheme does support businesses through things like joint promotion, marketing, business development activities that go towards improving the precinct. I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Okay, we now move to general business. And I might go around the room. Which way should I go today? I'll start this side. So Councillor McKern, you have 1 item, 2 items.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'd like to start with the recent celebration of Halloween in Ivanhoe Shopping Centre. Got a few pictures there for everyone to enjoy up on the screen. The Ivanhoe Traders Association teamed up with Nelson Alexander in October for the much anticipated and celebrated annual street event in Ivanhoe Shopping Centre, the Halloween Spooktacular. Hundreds of locals turned out for the event, many in costume, and it was truly a delight to walk up and down the street as traders engaged joyfully handing out treats. Special thanks to ITA's new committee and to the new shop Ivanhoe Meats, who generously provided nearly 500 snags for the event. The good news is the ITA, Ivanhoe Traders Association, is an all-new committee after much hard work, and we look forward to a lot of good things coming from this group. And with the committee reinvigorated, you will notice the return of Christmas decorations to Ivanhoe after a somewhat difficult Christmas last year in relation to decorations. The Banyule banner, on to the next item. Hopefully everyone's seen the new banner that has just come out, the November issue. It's Council's magazine outlining our events and programs, and currently it's featuring news about the very special current temporary exhibition of paintings by the Heidelberg School, including artists like Charles Condor, Arthur Streeton and Tom Roberts. In the councillor ward rounds, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, I have posed a question in my little section to our readers, and it's something like this. Can you guess where on the Darebin Creek Tom Roberts painted A Quiet Day on the Darebin Creek? First 3 responses emailed to me will win a book about the history of the Darebin Parklands, courtesy of the ward councillor. I do look forward to hearing from our residents. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McKern. Very enthusiastic. Okay, we'll move to Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the great pleasure on the 31st of October to attend an event. The Life's Little Treasures Foundation conducted their Walk for Premies. So the people up there that you're seeing there from this great organisation pushed that incubator 900 kilometres from Sydney to Melbourne. And they finished in our great city of Banyule, down at Heidelberg Park, in conjunction with the Mercy. And that's them finishing their trek over many months. So an extraordinary effort. They quite literally pushed that. I did 2 laps of the oval, so I did contribute, but 900 kilometres. It was quite, it was a very wet day, so there wasn't a great turnout. I'm looking forward to promoting this event next year. It is an extraordinary organisation, the work that they're doing. Quite sobering. 1 in 10 babies born are premature. It's 26,000 a year in Australia. And that comes with great uncertainty for the families and an emotional struggle for all the kids and mum and dad. Real problems that people are dealing with. Next Monday, 17th of November, is World Prematurity Day. And the Life's Little Treasures Foundation are coordinating Wear Purple for Premies. So there you go. Bring out your bright purple next Monday. Thank you for that one. One other while I'm here. Thank you. 2 weeks ago, myself and Councillor O'Kane, together with Director Tobacco and some of the other officers, attended an event held by Victoria Police. It was the Banyule and Nillumbik Community Police Forum, held down at the Hub in Heidelberg West. So we had a good turnout. There was some representation from organisations such as Barbun Beek, East Ivanhoe Traders were there, Watsonia Neighbourhood House, just to name a few. In future, I think it'd be good to have representatives from all our various community partners. The traders, of course, Sports Club, other community advisors, our public committees that we've got, schools, kinders, the like. The stats were rather alarming that they were presenting, particularly with youth crime. One of the big takeaways was that council can partner with Vic Police and start looking at what we're doing in the space of youth services. I know we do a lot, but it's certainly an area that I was chatting to our director about. So looking forward to promoting that one as well next year when that comes around, and thank Vic Police for their work on that one. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Councillor Curry.
Thanks, Mayor. So my general business item is to do with the separation trees. So this coming Friday at 10:30am, I'll be visiting the Royal Botanic Gardens. The site of the separation tree is to celebrate the separation of New South Wales and Victoria in 1850, 1851. The site of that tree is actually a river red gum, which was over 400 years old, and unfortunately, through acts of vandalism, the tree has now died, but still stands in place, and there's a plaque. And on behalf of Council, I'll be receiving a sapling from the seeds collected from that river red gum tree to bring back for our officers to plant in a specific place, which actually I don't know where they're planting it. But I will find out, and the next update will let you know. Otherwise, it's going in my garden. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Curry. Councillor Champion.
Thanks, Mayor. I have two events. Illuminate Art Exhibition was recently showing in Loft 275 at Ilch. It did close yesterday. Now, I was joined at the launch, which was 3 weeks ago, by Councillor Curry, and we were supporting art in Banyule by local artists with a disability. The Bridge Incorporated at McLeod has been successfully nurturing creativity in our disabled residents for well over 70 years. And their artworks have recently been exhibited and have also been available for purchase. So Council would like to thank the Bridge Incorporated management and our annual art curator, Stephanio, for another celebration of creative expression for our communities, and we're very much looking forward to more similar exhibitions from this organisation, and we're looking forward to working much more closely with the Bridge Incorporated. Last month also was celebrating Banyule's senior citizens. So we had our annual Seniors Festival. It was, the actual festival was held on the 24th at the centre in Ivanhoe, although the whole month celebrates seniors. On this particular day, 350 of our older residents celebrated our Seniors Month, which we do every October. And this year we were entertained by Carol O'Halloran and music from the 70s and the 60s. Almost everyone got up to dance, but not quite. We also learnt something new. A senior is now someone who is actually older than 79 years. And life beyond this age is actually a result of our choices, not our hereditary. We had several residents older than 100 who were given prizes. So we'd like to thank all the officers, the caterers, the entertainers, the security, and our very enthusiastic guests for making this another fun celebration of a long and healthy life. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Champion. Councillor Garotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just two brief items of general business. One, just following on from Councillor McKern's recount of the ITA Halloween event, the Watsonia Traders also put on a very successful Halloween event, and it was terrific to see hundreds, literally hundreds, if not pushing over 1,000 people gathered at the town square. A really good community vibe. And then to go out trick-or-treating, I've got two girls, and just to see the community open up to one another and neighbours meeting one another is quite special. And I'm really quite happy that this is becoming part of our culture. It's really nice. The second thing is that tomorrow is Remembrance Day. And I'll be privileged enough to be attending a service at the Watsonia RSL. But I think it's just important to note that. And as a council, and I think as a community, we certainly do pay our respects. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, I have one item, and it's coming up in the next fortnight. The VLGA are hosting awards for women in local government. There is an emerging women's leader category, which is awarded to a first-term woman councillor recognising their outstanding leadership. And I've put forward a nomination for our 2 female woman councillors, Councillor Curry and Councillor O'Kane. And I'll just give a quick summary as to why. I'll start with Councillor Curry. Since becoming a councillor in November 2024, she's demonstrated a consistent, considered and measured approach in her delivery and pursuit of deeper understanding of complex and important issues, and I think people here this evening would have heard that tonight. Her ability to navigate sensitive matters and foster middle ground promotes collaborative decision making and outcomes. Just interesting to note her ward, Ibbott Ward, named after Nellie Ibbott. So Nellie Ibbott was the former mayor of Heidelberg in 1943, and the first mayor in Victoria that was female. She just missed out on having the awards named after her. So Mary Rogers was elected in 1920 and Nellie Ibbott was elected in 1923. So just pipped us at the post. We could have had that. We could have had the title. But also Nellie Ibbott's our only ward that is named after a female. So, and we have a female councillor there. So that's exciting. Yeah. Okay. And Councillor O'Kane. So Councillor O'Kane exemplifies leadership through her unique combination of integrity, compassion and a profound understanding of the community. She's shown her dedication to fostering inclusive participation and respectful conversation, ensuring that every community member's voice is recognised and valued. So listening attentively, listening is a very tricky skill for some people, but very important. And demonstrating genuine empathy, she bridges differences and cultivates trust, so influencing council outcomes in a positive way. So I think it's important to share the nominations. You never know, there's going to be a big pool of councillors from across Victoria, but that's happening in the next fortnight. And that's all from me. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just jumping in, this is the only opportunity I think I've got here, but just like to acknowledge and thank the Mayor, Liz Neely, for chairing the council meetings over the last 12 months. This is the last meeting prior to the mayoral election next Tuesday. I'm not presuming you won't be mayor after that, but thought your stable, generous and positive leadership of this council over the 12 months and the first in this term of council should be acknowledged this evening. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor, and I'll say that as much as I can today. Okay, we're moving on to public questions. We've received 23 public questions. If any members of the gallery who have a public question are here, they are welcome to approach the lectern and ask their question when their name is read out. And for those not present, the question will not be read out, but it will be included in the minutes of the meeting, available on our website later in the week. Please note that councillors have already received the background information. So when asking your question this evening, kindly proceed directly to the question itself. With 23 questions scheduled, we aim to ensure we're not keeping people longer than necessary. The first question is from Clancy Fraser of Heidelberg West. No. The second question is from Brendan Murphy of Bundoora. No. The third is David Mulholland of Ivanhoe. First up,
Mayor,
thank you, David.
And I pass on my congratulations to your term as Mayor too. My question actually relates to the voluntary modern slavery statement which Council adopted earlier this year. Will Council confirm that its voluntary modern slavery statement and associated procurement procedures will be strictly applied to all purchases for the two projects in the budget, energy efficient enhancements across council buildings and the Watermark integrated aquatic and office precinct electrification, which includes solar panels, batteries and other related equipment, to ensure that all suppliers are free from modern slavery and exploitative labour practices, and will a report be publicly made on the due diligence measures taken to verify the ethical sourcing of these products?
Thank you for your question. To be answered by Director Gilio.
Thanks for the question, David. I can confirm, or Council confirms, that his voluntary modern slavery statement and associated procurement procedures will be applied to purchases for the projects referenced, being the energy efficient enhancement across council buildings and Watermark integrated aquatic and office precinct electrification. This includes mandatory integration of ethical sourcing requirements into tender and quotation processes, as well as supplier risk assessments and questionnaires to identify and mitigate risk, particularly for high-risk categories such as solar and battery components. Public reporting by Council will publish its voluntary modern slavery statement annually and report on actions taken to verify ethical sourcing and compliance with procurement policies.
Thank you. Our next question is from Annalisa Vietz from Heidelberg West. Our next question is from Lauren Moliner from Heidelberg Heights. Fleur Taylor from Heidelberg Heights. Salvan Ponthonaroy from Heidelberg West. Michelle Sirowick from Heidelberg Heights. Susan Bell from Briar Hill. No? Oh. Come forward. Yes, we can read. Oh, thank you. No problem. Thank you. Linda.
Regarding the Greensborough Social and Affordable Housing Tower of 17 stories in height, I would like to know how the Council is communicating with the Labor Party and housing ministers about the community adamantly not wanting this building at this height. And where is the evidence that you are communicating with them that we can actually read, please?
And to be answered by Director Swan. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Council understands and shares the community's concerns regarding the height of the apartment building, and Council agrees the height should have been closer to the preferred maximum height of 13 stories as outlined in our adopted structure plan. We also understand concerns where the planning process is taken out of Council's hands. During the State Government's assessment process, Council was given a limited opportunity to provide comment, with planning officers raising concerns over the building height and limited car parking. These concerns were not addressed in the final approved permit. Unfortunately, applications of this nature approved by the Minister for Planning are not reviewable and available to challenge by Council.
Thank you. The next question is from John Muchin, sorry, apologies, from Heidelberg Heights. Jared Adrian of Belfield. No. Oh, yes. Thank you. Please ask your question.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor and Councillors, for accepting my question. Excuse me, I'll read from my phone. Knowing for some time that 31st of October 2025 was the last day of the Olympic Village Aquatic Facility, in relation to the vulnerable populations of postcode 3081 Banyule, what has Banyule Council done recently and in the past, and what aspects of active and public transport will Council be giving attention to in the near future? What will be prioritised, what created and what will be advocated for to access and participate at an alternative aquatic venue?
Thank you for your question. Director Swan.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Council's adopted a bicycle strategy to support cycling throughout the municipality. This strategy has Oriel Road as a strategic cycling corridor, which aims to provide a safe, low-stress route for riders. This would be the main cycling route between Heidelberg West and the Ivanhoe Leisure Centre. Most of this route is in place and marked with bicycle lanes, and Council has been advocating to the Department of Transport for the provision of a safe cycling crossing of Bell Street as an urgent measure. The bicycle trip is about 15 minutes bike riding using Oriel Road in the marked bike lanes and Bond Street. A number of bicycle hoops are provided in front of Ivanhoe Aquatic Centre, and Council also offers subsidised bike skills and maintenance classes, including one-on-one support for those learning or returning to cycling. Public transport services are provided by the state. Council continues to advocate for a comprehensive review of bus routes and services in Banyule and would support higher frequencies and flexible routes. Currently, the 549 bus travels along Oriel Road and Bond Street every 30 minutes and picks up and drops off at Ivanhoe Aquatic. The trip takes around 13 minutes. From the 1st of January 2026, public transport will be free for children under 18 at all times and free for seniors on weekends. Also, there is both state and federal government programs to support the use of taxis and rideshare for those unable to use public transport. The state government's multi-purpose taxi program offers subsidies for people with severe and permanent disability or mobility limitations, and the federal government's support at home program, including taxi subsidy and vouchers for seniors with low incomes. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Anthony Lunkin of Heidelberg West. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to put this question, which has been slightly adapted by governance, but I think says what I wanted to say. In separate answers to two public questions at the last council meeting, council provided what they called the chronology of events since 2011 and the key milestones when council indicated that the future of the Olympic Leisure Centre would not include aquatic facilities. If council wishes to gain the trust of the community, why was the decision in mid-2023 to keep the pool open not included in the chronologies provided, especially when the strategy document, which was Aquatic Strategy 2023, signposted that there would be a follow-up report, which eventually happened in June 2025, that recommended the closure of aquatic services at OLC.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
Yep, to be answered by Director Tobacco.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Consistent with the email correspondence sent to you on Thursday, the 30th of October, officers have not deliberately omitted information from the response. The submitter's question did not seek a complete account or timeline. The milestones you referred to are on public record via council meeting agendas and minutes. No information has been withheld.
Thank you. Our next question is from Avril Lunkin of Heidelberg West. Kelly Gardner of Heidelberg West. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Can Council clarify what actions it will take to ensure former Olympic Leisure Centre aqua aerobics participants have access to equivalent classes at Ivanhoe Aquatic, and if additional classes cannot be provided, explain why this was not addressed before the OLC closed and what further steps will be taken to prevent negative financial or wellbeing impacts on affected users.
Thank you for your question, to be answered by Director Tobacco.
Through you, Mayor, thank you for the question, Kelly. The aqua class timetable at Ivanhoe Aquatic now has 19 classes per week. The classes are spread across 7 days of the week, and these classes have availability and spaces for Olympic leisure and Ivanhoe Aquatic members and patrons to attend. The average occupancy across all classes is 53%. While some classes are busy, many have substantial vacancies. For example, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday 9:30am classes, which in recent weeks have had 15 or more vacancies per class. Wednesday 1:30pm classes in recent weeks have also had 15 or more vacancies. Given the vacancies available in the existing aqua classes, the challenge of balancing different programs such as aqua classes and school swim lessons in a limited pool space, 2 new classes were added to the aqua class timetable at times requested in the recent aqua participant survey. These classes were 7:30am on Thursday and 1:30pm on Saturday. While it is acknowledged the survey respondents did request weekday 9:15am classes, the Ivanhoe Aquatic timetable already has a 9:30am class on Tuesday, Thursday and Friday with vacancies as previously mentioned. Attendances at aqua classes are constantly monitored and classes may be added to the timetable or removed from the timetable dependent on class occupancy. Over a 7-day period, classes are currently offered at a range of times including 7:10am, 7:30am, 7:45am, 8:30am, 9:30am, 1:30pm, 2:30pm and 7:15pm.
Thank you. Our next question is from Halima McGlashan of Thomastown. Neil McCann of Ivanhoe East. Thank you. Neil.
Good evening all. Can Council please provide residents with details of the basis on which Council changed and approved 2025 to 2029 roads register to reflect changes made to the classification of certain roads as distinct from the overarching road management plan which was approved at the 14 July Council meeting? Specifically, please advise the basis on which road number 7235, the Boulevard in Ivanhoe East, was reviewed and approved by Council to be changed to a level 2 residential road from its long-standing level 3 unsealed road classification in the 2021 to 25 and 2017 to 2021 road registers. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil, for your question. And Director Bennett.
Thanks for your question, Neil. Council is responsible for approving the road management plan, which is required to be reviewed every 4 years. Officers are delegated responsibility for preparing and maintaining our road register. A complete review of the history of the classification of the boulevard between Burke Road and Banksia Street was undertaken by officers. In our first road register from 2004, the section of road was listed as level 4 unsealed with an asphalt surface type. Its surface type in the register was changed in 2009 to gravel, as this is the only option for the unsealed categorisation. There was no physical change to the road surface at this time, as it remained as asphalt. It was then changed to level 3 unsealed in 2017, when our level classification hierarchy reduced from 4 to 3. It remained this category in the 2021-25 road register. It is currently listed as a level 2 residential in the road register 2025 to 2029, as this is the correct category based on the description of this type of road, given its primary function is to provide access to private properties. The boulevard cannot be classified as a level 3 road as it is not unsealed or a partially constructed right-of-way.
Thank you. The next question is from Philip Meadows of Ivanhoe East. Thank you, Philip, for your question.
Yeah, thank you for your time. We kind of cross-pollinated a little bit and had a similar question, but mine is more focused around the standard of construction and what engineering justification for the change. So In relation to the road registry, we already spoke through all that. I won't repeat the question. But the engineering judgment and the change that occurred for the road, how has it been documented, the change in standard of construction, given that the background information provided suggested that it's been unsealed for so long, the engineering adjustment assessment by the Stantec report associated with the upgrade to the road suggested it was also unsealed, and then now all of a sudden it is sealed and upgraded to level 2 without any capital works improvement to that road.
Thank you. Director Bennett.
Yes, thanks for your question. You're right, the question's very similar to the previous one, and therefore the answer will be similar to the previous one. However, I'll try to summarise the response. So the key query seems to be who's responsible for maintaining the road register. As previously mentioned, Council reviews the road management plan every 4 years, and officers are delegated responsibility for preparing and maintaining our road register. The classification of the boulevard between Burke Road and Banksia Street has changed several times in the register due to updates in classification criteria, not because any physical changes to the road. The current 2025-2029 road register now correctly lists it as a level 2 residential road, reflecting its primary function as access to private properties. It cannot be classified as a level 3 since it is not unsealed or partially constructed.
Thank you. The next question is from Lolita Ponthonorai of Preston. Jean Baker of Mill Park. Devaki Pham of Surrey Hills. Ben Tomasiello of Preston. Jessie Webb of Heidelberg West. And David Jessup of Eaglemont.
Evening all, nice to see you all. Over the journey you would have received my emails, no doubt. My question is, what is the official Banyule City Council classification of the eastern boundary of Burley Griffin Place, Eaglemont? This question has been asked for 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. And to be answered by Director Swan.
Thank you, David, and through you, Mayor. All the land contained in Burley Griffin Place, Eaglemont, is classified as a local road and is vested in council under the Road Management Act 2004. Burley Griffin Place road reservation includes nature strips adjoining the private property boundaries to the west and east, concrete footpaths, curb and channel, and a sealed roadway.
Thank you. You'll have to sit down. We can talk after the meeting. Thank you. Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance this evening. In accordance with Section 2066(2)A of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting will now be closed to members of the public for the consideration of one confidential matter. And just to give a bit of background, outcomes from the CEO Employment Matters Committee meeting held on the 24th of September 2025. The information contained in this council report is designated as confidential in accordance with Section 31 of the Local Government Act. For a detailed explanation of the confidential designation, please refer to the sliders displayed on the agenda. Can I please have a councillor move and second for the meeting to be closed to members of the public? Move, Councillor Champion, seconded, Councillor Curry. All those in favour? That is carried. A special council meeting for the election of the mayor will be on Tuesday, the 18th of November, 2025, and the next ordinary meeting of council will be held on Monday, the 1st of December, 2025. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I now close the meeting to the public at 9:24 p.m. Thank you.